Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, please do subscribe and check in daily in case you don't get any notifications to both channels, as they're always playing games with the algorithms. Oh, yes, absolutely. There's a lot going on, awful lot going on many different levels. As we said before, 2023 is going to be a year of just rapid progress as far as the unraveling of the system that we've grown up with and the unveiling of the new.
Well, I think so many people are waking up to what's really, really going on, and the controllers are scampering to stop it.
Yeah, and they have plays in their playbook, which we know are coming. And when we look over here in California, as you see this title, flood threatens to turn coastal California towns into an island. Local officials warn part of the Monterey Peninsula in Northern California could be cut off from the rest of the state by flooding on a river that's been inundated with rainfall from a series of punishing winter storms. Now, they say that there is going to be a change in the weather, but we'll see how long that change lasts. And also if it does come back. As we know, there's been devastating flooding. This is drone footage from Hollister, California, from AccuWeather. Massive flooding. You got kind of everything going on at the same time in so many areas. Many people, and I've seen many articles bringing up the fact that, will this increase the likelihood of the big one? Will this play a factor in perhaps triggering the San Andreas to go, or the Cascadian event? I do think Cascadia first. And, that came through in meditation again not too long ago when I was thinking about the series of quakes that would happen, which would include Cascadia, San Andreas, and then the New Madrid. And what came through was clearly, as I've been thinking, all along, Cascadia first. And here we have debris from the latest storm piled up in Morro Bay. And you can see, this is a mess. This is a mess that we have. And we had, of course, years of wildfires ever increasing. And now we have these storms. Makes you think of the 1861, 1862 Great Inundation. This is actually, they say, due to lightning strike. And again, this is in San Francisco Bay Area. A lightning strike. Oof, that's scary. And here we're going to go to the watchers as we see a growing sinkhole swallows 2 cars in L.A. As you see, they're pulling one person out from a 15-foot sinkhole in Chatsworth. 2 vehicles became trapped as the road crumbled. Yeah, this is, again, L.A. is one of those places that is... Well, it's got a lot going on at many different levels.
Mm-hmm. I know it's so sad because there's so many people there, older people, younger people with their pets, children, animals, farms, goats, horses, everything is just so extremely displaced and chaotic. And what we can do, we like to always talk about, well, what can we do about that? Anchor yourself. Find that grounding in yourself and send that energy toward the West Coast.
Yeah. And again, we have many family members in California, and, some are situated in spots that are nestled in little nooks and crannies that they, feel is going to be okay to make it through. You got to listen to that inner voice. However, we strongly feel that, again, if you are in the big cities, if you are in, say, Los Angeles, if you are in Seattle, if you're in Portland, if you're in New York, if you're in Houston even, if you're in Dallas even, Chicago, certainly, Atlanta, all these big mega cities are not the places to be if you want to stay organic and human, and not give in to the system and not ultimately be completely, chip tagged and however else you want to put it, you don't want to be in the cities. This is still, we still have some time. Our beloved Rosemary that was sharing with us information, and we were going over ways to boost your immune system and your health. And she's somebody that, she's had these same sort of messages, visions all her life, just known things her whole life, and switched gears like I did at a certain point in time. And, I always knew I was going to switch gears. I was going to live a certain life up to one point, and that was just getting, preparation for what was to come. And she did this too. And so, she's all about helping people and helping people boost their health and well-being naturally, because, again, they're going to be offering us all sorts of solutions if we just, conform to the few, the real power structure that's on the planet, which again is not from the planet organically in the first place. And there's nothing organic about the real power structure.
No, I mean, we should be able to live off the land. The land provides. We have the instincts to do that. And there's these controllers that have created a construct in such a way that we're kind of forced to do as they say, because they set up the construct. They did not teach us any different. I think if there were options growing up, so many people would have chosen something different if they said, well, what's behind door 1 or door 2? Well, if they had an idea there was even a door 2, they would ask. But that's not the way things are. They just, right out of the gate, they indoctrinate. Hey, that rhymes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty big landslide, and this is, heading northbound in Nevada, going towards Reno. And man, this is Hudson Aurora Road to State Road 339 through Wilson Canyon. That's certainly something you wouldn't want to see coming down when you're driving through that area. And so many of these areas are very, very treacherous when you add all that rain in. It could be absolutely devastating and life-threatening. As you see here, this is Moore Park roadway expected to reopen this morning. Again, there's been lots of closures from mudslides, landslides in many different areas. 24.5 trillion gallons of water have fallen. That is major drought relief. Yet when we are looking remote viewing-wise at the picture, say, going forward to that 2055 timeline we were talking about, it's dry in California and in the West, and it is basically still more of that overall tendency towards drought. With these extreme events that are happening with a purpose. Again, it's all out there. We have declassified documents that show us the reality of engineering the weather. We could look to Operation Popeye, where back in the Vietnam War, we're talking like 50 years ago, they flooded out whole areas with entrenched armies with weather manipulation. You don't think it couldn't have anything to do with what we're seeing now? Hang on tight over in Vancouver Island. Our family members over there could be flooding and mudslides, 100 plus millimeters by Saturday, higher amounts in the higher elevations. Yeah, it's going to shift as far as where the primary focus of the storms is going to be, so be very aware. Very large landslide hits Colombia's Cauca department, destroying 64 homes. Again, this is all over. As you could see, the area marked here that went through this landslide, and you can see where it all broke away. Think about how look at that. Can you imagine being in that house and then the ground's literally giving way, and then when you look outside your living room, it's like a 60-foot drop? Mm-hmm. Now, this is what I felt. Honestly, I felt nervous when I was living in the Appalachians in some spots, because, I would hear a random big thud as something went falling off the side. It was interesting to note, it felt in some ways a little bit more treacherous in the Appalachians than over in New Mexico and in the mountains of New Mexico and Arizona. And again, I think the propensity is for a lot more rain in that area. So when we look forward, we do see a very soggy Appalachian area. The Appalachians, it does seem, many will be able to retreat and make it through in those areas. But again, you just got to be very aware of the local environment. Are you on a steep hillside? Is there any evidence that there's landslides? The house that I was staying in, if I owned it, man, you would have to do major work to shore it up in North Carolina where I was, because I could see that there's trees that, in these times would be a threat to come straight down on that house. But that was just a property we were renting, but you can see the changes that can occur suddenly.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, look at your surroundings now. Is there anything that you need to shore up now? Is there, kind of poke around your environment, see where you can have backup to your backup, because that seems to be the theme this year is really readiness, preparedness, checking your stores, seeing what's going on, having things ready. I mean, this is really, really scary what's going on out here. And I feel so bad for these people. This trauma is going to last for years.
Yeah, this is 850 meters wide, 900 meters long. So, I mean, that's a massive area. 2,700 feet plus. You're talking close to, half a mile. That's huge. And so, might as well touch on this topic right now, because I saw some comments, a couple of comments, and I understand too that people have different opinions on things. And again, I would always ask that people try to learn to develop the ability to sense and to feel into things. Sense and feel in. We could be given all sorts of facts. We could be given all sorts of figures. We could be told all sorts of quote unquote facts about the history that are always changing. The facts are always changing. The history is always changing. The science is always changing. So feel into it. When you look at somebody, read their energy. Read their energy. When we, watch different channels, we get different recommendations all the time, and we're pretty familiar with almost all these channels out there. As when I first started doing this, like 7 years, going on 7 years ago, I was watching all sorts of different things. And over time, I've disconnected more and more and more from watching others. And Cindy didn't really watch so many others, the whole time. She's always been going more with that inner voice. And we both learned to trust the inner voice a lot stronger and clearer. And with the ability to, the ever-increasing ability to remote view, as, again, if you steer clear of the GMO foods, of course, those things that they're always trying to give you, ouch, know what we mean. Big FARMA, again, at this point in life, and yes, I used to love nothing better than a nice glass of French or Italian wine with maybe some, small little hors d'oeuvres on a nice little cafe. That was the good life to me. But, I don't touch anything now that I don't know exactly where it's sourced from. Don't touch alcohol. Never really got into anything else. And certainly, Cindy knows. She'll ask me if I ever feel off, like something feels achy or what have you. Do you want a couple aspirin? I'll be like, no. And if I ever had to take anything, it would be just plain aspirin. Nothing that they will offer us from the system, because the system is irrevocably corrupt. And they're looking for ways of sticking things in things, as we were talking about with Rosemary. Go look at some of these labels on what you think might be just simply a vitamin, and then you start seeing, why are they putting artificial colorings in this? Why are they putting, all these different flavorings, natural? Well, what does that mean? Again, you can't trust anything in this system. So when, again, there's people quoting the science, the science comes all from their books. Who's giving us the science? What school does the science come from? Where does that funding come from? You can't trust any science. We can't trust any science. Well, we're looking at ice core samples. Yeah, who's looking at ice core samples? The Smithsonian? NASA? NOAA? Who exactly?
I know. I mean, they're taking the science. It's almost like a joke now. If you see someone saying "trust the science," it's like It's like, seriously, are you guys still actually posting that? But yes, they are, because they know things, and they do post that, because at this point, the controllers know. So many people know it's just a joke. The system is a joke. So with every step that you take, if you're someone who is trying to find healing in something, you have to really be critical in your thinking and know what you're getting into. And is this something that there's an open-ended out? Because a lot of people get on medicines, and then there becomes a spot, a place in their energy field where they rely on that medicine to keep something basically blocked. Is what they do. They block things so things cannot grow and heal. So if you don't have an in when you're trying to fix something in your body, and a natural flow of energy out, meaning a healing, a complete healing, that's where you need to really stop and pause and say, okay, am I doing the best thing, or am I just putting a band-aid on my situation? And so many people have been trapped that way, unknowing that this is a band-aid, and if you continue on with it, actually the problem is going to get worse, and it's just going to sit there and build and build and build in your physical body, in your energy body, and nothing is going to get released, and it's going to really cause some serious backups.
Absolutely. So, again, when we look at these other channels and others, other ones that are so quoted and stuff, we read the energy of the person that's giving us the information. Do they feel like they're in the system? Do they feel like they have a vested interest? How many views are they getting? Because obviously, if they're not getting censored, then they are part of the system. It's just that simple. Everybody that's giving real info is going to be heavily censored. They're not going to. It's swimming against the tide, and so that's what we faced at one time. Evolutionary was in the top 2,500 channels on YouTube as far as perspective for growth. There is a rating agency, and now it wouldn't even register because, again, they discovered that we are a threat to the system, so they've totally subdued us. So anybody that's still getting massive views is some way, shape, or form in the system. As you can see, 910,000 views, 262,000 views, 105,000 views, 96,000, 78,000, 71,000. And if you go back, you can see this is all from 4 years ago. And when we view the views now, 2.4, 3.2, 4.3, 2.9, 4.1, 4, 3.9, 3.3, 2.5, 2.6. So is it the message that changed, or is it simply that, oh, wait a minute, okay, we're all of a sudden questioning the narrative. So, okay, as time went on, again, we relied more on what we were getting, and this is really initially starting with just me, and then having that more of a propensity to go deeper and deeper into meditations. Again, I've meditated all my life, going back to being like a 5-year-old kid meditating in the closet. Yes, always been this way. But yet it's that trusting in yourself, in your connection, your inner voice, no longer trusting anything any of the science is giving us. Nobody in the system. So if you're still watching channels and you look and they are still getting massive views, 100,000 views and things like that, then absolutely you gotta question, why are they being allowed to get those views? So northern Australia bracing for more thunderstorm, rain, and floods. High to extreme fire dangers forecast for southern regions. Hang on tight as well in the land down under. The kangaroos certainly are. This is over in Western Australia near Broome. Look at them. They're looking for their island to escape to. Again, you can see the apparent changes. Look at this flood. Look at the floodwaters. Look at that. That's from satellite, obviously. That's a massive difference right there. Now, yes, we do have seasonal creeks in the south, what we would call them, right? Crick, seasonal crick. And I'm sure out in the outback you have a lot of, things that happen seasonally. We see it in the desert, there can be no water. And then all of a sudden, a raging torrent that has nowhere to go because the ground won't absorb it. But the thing is, too, that the changes that can happen on the planet are far faster than what they tell us. Way faster. And when you add in the geoengineering aspect of it, greatest concentration of lightning ever recorded. This was that Tonga eruption, and it set a new record for the greatest concentration of lightning ever detected. Nearly 400,000 lightning events were detected within 6 hours. And what we got was this was not natural. And, again, there's technology. We don't know what little Elon's, satellites are really doing, all the tens of thousands of them. Not to mention things like the White Knight satellite. And, we should retouch or repost info on the White and Black Knight satellites. There's artificial satellites that we know of that we didn't make that are up there watching us. And, for many of you guys, you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's information up there that's been being collected for eons and eons and eons. And the only reason it would still be being collected is if somebody is looking at it. So what's going on there? You have to ask yourself. These questions all the time. And when you learn the truths of things, there's such a level of trauma with that, because then you start to look around and think, well, gosh, I trusted this and this was wrong, and I trusted that and that was wrong. And you really start to question yourself. But that's part of being reborn, really. It's being born out of the system into what is true. So allow yourself that time, allow yourself to walk that path, and whatever it looks like.
Yeah, here's a correspondent for the BBC saying, first Beijing winter 20 years ago, and all that time I've never seen it rain in the city during winter. It should be all snow. Thanks, global warming. You work for the BBC. We can't trust a damn thing you say. I mean, we'll watch your reporting, we'll listen, we'll see the maps and the info that you share, but we're going to look at it cynically because, again, you have an agenda, because that's who pays your check. And I can't ever resist putting little comments in there. Just, hopefully one or two people will, pick it up and say, geoengineering, and maybe somebody else will mention it again. And when we look to the volcanic activity report, we see new activity for 5 this week and ongoing for 19. So you have new activity going on in eastern Java, over in Japan. We had Kilauea come back on, Merapi came back on, Sumatra, and Seismopochnoi over in the Aleutians as well. The volcanic activity is going to have a lot to do with cooling things on. And this is what we mean. Sure, yeah, there's solar cycles. But, and again, solar cycles can trigger a volcanic activity. But everything is consciousness. And this is really a battle of consciousness that's going on. As Cindy, yes, agrees.
Oh, for sure it is. I mean, the lines are drawn in such a way where it's almost impossible to grasp when you've been raised up in this construct of a belief system. It's like you think about it and you think, wow, that is just so crazy. That pill is too jagged to swallow. But you keep it within your energy field and you come back and revisit it because you look at things the way they are and they continue to not make any sense. They continue to review and revise information inside the matrix. And you go back and you think, well, okay, so if maybe this information is right, and you kind of revisit that, and it takes a little bit of time. But yeah, it's definitely a battle for consciousness, for energy, wherever they can get people's energy to flow, that's what they're going to do. And they're even going to manage that energy. It's like, do they want anger? Do they want frustration? So they generate that. And these emotions that we have are so extremely important. That's what they are controlling. So that's why we talk about finding that state of like a Buddhist detachment. So sure, you can look and see what's going on, but don't vest yourself in it, because then you're feeding the controllers.
Absolutely. Truckee and Tahoe ski resorts, 2 feet of snow, so much more on the way. Nevada County declares an emergency. And in fact, you see snowmageddon, Mammoth Mountain. Now, Mammoth Mountain ski resorts in California closed because of too much snow. What? Come on. 13 feet in 9 days since the start of the year. 13 feet in 9 days. Now, I got to admit, there is a part of me that thinks that is just extreme gorgeousness. And, as a person that was growing up in Connecticut, we got snow, but, we didn't get it like you get this. I remember 2 storms in 78 that gave us, I think, 21 and 24 inches, or was it 24 and 28 inches? And that was the biggest I had ever seen in my life. And yeah, I do remember snow being up to almost the roof line in certain spots, where the wind would blow it in. And I loved to, as soon as we got our first snow, I'd be off into the woods. I'd be going up to Sleeping Giant, which was my favorite place to go in the local area. Sleeping Giant is in Hamden, Connecticut. Many of you may know that if you've been through the area. And I would just go hike and go up to the head or go up to the lookout point and then just go up at the top and meditate and take a couple of my dogs with me. And it was just such a pleasant experience. So, yeah, while I don't love the cold overall, who can deny that there's just something about the snow being down there and a warm fire going and just, real wood all surrounding you, that freshness of the air. It's so nice.
I know, it's refreshing.
Absolutely refreshing. Absolutely. This is crazy when you think about it, though. Too much snow. So, Oklahoma, Texas, yes, 179 reports of a fireball. This was on yesterday. And there's several different videos here of this event. And when I'm watching this, it's like hitting me. We see this all the time. You see it kind of go and scoop by. Who's to say it's not a ship? You know what I mean? It's just a meteor. Well, yeah, a lot of times they are meteors, but sometimes they're not. That's the thing. And this lady, she comes out of the house, and then she's walking, and oh, look at that. They're coming, George. They're coming. The little green men from Mars are here.
Finally.
Yeah. Elon's finally, done it. He's invited them, and they came. Meteor fireball over England and Wales as well. And I'll give you guys all the links. So we have a 6.0 on the southern east rise in the Pacific. We have some activity. There was like a 5.5 and a 4.8 over in South America. It's been pretty quiet in South America overall. And we can see a little stair-step pattern developing over here. Again, Cascadia first, then the San Andreas, then the X marks the spot, the New Madrid. And then, be aware, too, if you're in Charleston, the potential's there for a 7.0 or thereabouts, and in these times, maybe even higher, as there is a fault down there that one time when it went off, it actually caused the sand to liquefy. So, a lot of water coming down could trigger something major. This is curious to say the least. Now, these before we did get we got a slap on the wrist, so to speak, for an infringement. So I'll give you the link. But this is interesting of what we had as toys. Look at the mechanical engineering in this, and in these dolls going back from, the 1880s, 1870s, 1850s. There's something, that doesn't add up with, what we are being told technologically. And no, this guy is not an AI cricket. This is natural. At least that's what they tell us. Look at him. He's like armored to the hilt. He's ready to go to battle.
I know. Who needs to create these artificial things when nature creates herself and takes care of herself quite naturally? And my gosh, look at these kitties jump.
Look at that jump.
Those are great mousers. Now, if you live on a farm and you need a mouser, there you go.
And I wanted to, and we'll make a video on this specifically, talking again about there's so much evidence that we're not normal for this environment. We're not naturally evolving in this environment. You think about it, that squirrel could drop from a height that would be equivalent to us dropping from, 50 feet. What happens if we drop from 50 feet? Probably 8 out of 10 times we're dead. 2 out of 10, maybe we have really severe broken bones. And yet look at how the cheetahs can jump. I don't know. Is that he's got to be jumping 8 feet in the air, right? At least. And it's just natural to him. Think about the strength of a monkey. Monkeys, which might not weigh as much as a full-grown adult man. I mean, you could put a human 250-pound weightlifter up against the strength of a 120-pound chimp. That chimp is stronger. Proportionately, way stronger. There's so much evidence to the fact that humans are not natural. Homo sapiens is not a naturally evolving thing on this planet. And in many ways, our physical body that we're given is vastly inferior to much of the natural wildlife, maybe almost all the natural wildlife. And I got to wonder, too, if that inferiority, well, I don't even have to wonder. I know part of it's because, this is part of the programming in the genome, is they don't want us super strong. They don't want us super intelligent. They certainly don't want us super intuitive. They don't want us developing our psychic abilities. They don't want us connected to nature. They need us just to be perfect little worker bees, worker slaves, just as was said by Rockefeller himself. I don't want a nation of intelligent people. I need workers. Well, who do you think told that to Rockefeller?
And all the information, everything rolls downhill. It comes from the top. So the controllers that we can see in the flesh suits, the human suits, they're the ones taking orders from a little bit higher up. And it's definitely not for our benefit. But if we could just develop our skills and develop that natural part of us to go out there and blend with life, that's a great idea.
Absolutely, and they have us back on that cycle where, evolutionary is demonetized, EEARTS isn't demonetized, but might as well be, because what they do is every single video you have to put in for a human review. By the time the human review comes, 90% of the views are gone, and thus, you don't make anything on them. I mean, in reality, the typical video makes about maybe $2. Literally $2. And as you guys saw, Rumble was $9.75 for the 18 months to 2 years we've been on Rumble. So this is not a labor that is looking to get us rich. No, we would be much better suited being back in the corporate scenario if that was our goal, but it's not our goal. And our goal is to basically awaken the masses before it's too late. And the more people we can awaken so they end up saving themselves and not making decisions that affect them now and perhaps even in other lifetimes to come, then we've done our purpose. It's all about helping others awaken in these times to the bigger picture. So we want to thank everybody that is supporting us over on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation or monthly support just by changing the number of coffees, and that would support us just like it would on Patreon. And then if you do need energy work, if you do need a look at your Vedic charts, which are fascinating because, Vedic astrology, again, takes into account the tilt of the earth. Western astrology, in our opinion, I'll only speak for myself. I feel like Western astrology has been, just the same as anything else in the system. It's kind of been tilted, it's been twisted, so that we don't get a clear view. That's because they don't want us having the clear view. They don't want us understanding how this matrix works. But if you do understand why you came into the world at the time you did, the location you did, then all of a sudden your mission becomes a lot clearer. And some people might say, well, why is it I'm always running into a brick wall and nothing ever seems to go right? Well, a lot of it often is the case that we're not doing what we were supposed to do when we came in here. We got caught up in letting the ego, the smaller us, the one that works on those survival instincts, that's afraid of not having a check come in, not having health coverage, not having all these things take over. And so when we're not living our purpose, things tend to be harder, and there tend to be a lot of roadblocks. When we discover our purpose, then we can move forward. So you can reach out to us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Do check out Medicinal Foods as well. Use coupon code EEA to get 10% off. And these guys are great. They are also all about helping people with good, wholesome products.
Indeed. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.